Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're literally mapping the architecture of reality. Seriously, we are diving right into this breathtaking intersection of algebraic geometry, freely non-commuting variables, and the massive topological rules that actually govern our universe. We're going to look at how high-level mathematics proves that the tension between your individual free will and the macroscopic destiny of the cosmos can actually be solved as a topological equation. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the mystery of free variables, then unpack the free Grothendieck theorem, look at the Jacobian matrix key, the invisible constitution, the topology of free will, and finally, reversing the infinite. It is a wild journey from micro-level algebra straight to the absolute boundaries of infinity.
Section 1. The mystery of free variables, exploring the mathematical void.
So before we hit the hard math, I want you to imagine a philosophical thought experiment, something that bridges formal logic and everyday existential reality. Think of a mathematical entity, specifically a free polynomial mapping. Let's call this mapping our hero, freely exploring a completely chaotic universe of infinite possibilities. If our hero makes totally distinct, independent choices at every single step, is there a guaranteed mathematical path back to exactly where they started? Or, does the sheer complexity of infinity just swallow them whole?
To really understand this hero's journey, we've got to define the arena they're playing in. We kick things off in the void. Now, this isn't just empty outer space. It's the ultimate blank canvas. It's the pure generative baseline, the unmanifested potential of logic, perfectly captured as the empty set. And operating inside this void are our free variables. Think of these as the distinct choices our hero makes. They operate dynamically and freely without any commutative constraints. That means they are entirely independent and totally sequential.
Section 2. The free Grothendieck Theorem, explained. The algebra of distinct paths.
Okay, consider the stark contrast between commuting and freely non-commuting variables. This is where the mechanics of our universe's code really snap into focus, based on Mr. groundbreaking paper. In traditional math, variables commute super smoothly. You multiply x times y, it's exactly the same as y times x, right? Order just doesn't matter. But our hero variable? It lives in a strict, freely non-commuting reality. Down at the quantum and matrix level, order is absolute. Every sequential choice matters. X times y is entirely distinct from y times x. So when our hero makes a choice, that sequence locks in, carving a totally unique path through the matrix.
And this brings us to the profound resolution of that question we asked earlier. Augat brilliantly proves the free Grothendieck theorem, which states that if our hero variable explores the universe injectively, which basically means it perfectly preserves its distinctness and never maps two different paths to the exact same destination, it is mathematically guaranteed to have a free polynomial inverse. To put that in plain English, if your choices are truly distinct, the fundamental math of the universe guarantees an exact perfect path to reverse your journey right back to the origin. Our hero is definitely not lost.
Section 3. The Jacobian matrix key, unlocking the reverse path. But hey, knowing a path exists and actually walking it are two very different things, right? How does our hero physically unlock this path backward through the infinite? Well, they need a key. And that key is the non-commutative Jacobian matrix. It acts as a literal structural checkpoint of free formal power series. Honestly, think of it like the universe's bouncer. The rule is incredibly elegant. If this specific mathematical checkpoint can be inverted, your journey home is fully secured. The Jacobian matrix basically audits the hero's path, tracks that non-commuting sequence, and ensures a compositional inverse actually exists.
What's so brilliant about Augat's work is the three-step algorithm he lays out. It gives us a tangible test to ground all this high-level algebra and actually generate that inverse path. Step 1, you input your distinct mapping. Step 2, you construct what's called a hypo-Jacobian matrix to evaluate the boundaries of that map. And step 3, you iterate. After a set number of computational iterations, which just depends on your variables and degree, the universe literally produces your exact mathematical way home. It's basically a cosmic GPS algorithm.
Section 4. The invisible constitution. The macro laws governing local movements.
So we've seen how beautiful and precise the algebra is on the micro level for our hero, but that begs a massive question. If the algebra works perfectly locally, what overarching, macroscopic topological rules are governing the entire infinite universe these variables are running around in? To get that, we look at the personas of arithmetic, which sketch out the evolutionary timeline of reality itself. We start at axiom 1, persona 0. That's the self-identical empty void.
Then we jump to axiom 2, persona 1, driven by the Fréchet cofinite filter, which mathematically rejects all finite, bounded realities. They're just too small for our hero. Finally, axiom 3, persona 2. This is a transfinite expansion where the system completely embraces the boundless infinite. The universe flat out refuses to be tied down by finite limits.
But here's the catch. Within this boundless transfinite reality, things don't just evolve into total chaos. They are strictly governed by an inescapable boundary condition known in topology as the stone check compactification. You can think of this as the universe's invisible constitution. It takes all these infinite discrete sequences of choices and rigidly encloses them. It physically fixes the limit points. It enforces absolute macroscopic law over all those finite sequences we just talked about. This is the ultimate ceiling on our hero's journey. It's the boundary that reality itself cannot escape.
Section 5. The topology of free will. Agency versus the boundary.
Let's zoom in and see how our individual free variables, or metaphorically, our own local finite human choices, hold up against this massive, invisible constitution. Just think about the scale of this distribution. According to Arrow's impossibility theorem, in any finite system, logical aggregation inevitably collapses into a singularity, something we call a finite local dictator. That's you and me. When we make free choices, we're acting as these local dictators over our immediate, tiny matrix of options. But our little slice of localized agency? It is absolutely dwarfed and swallowed whole by the immense, transfinite macroscopic measure of the universe.
This collision creates what mathematicians call the invisible gerrymander. It's a purely topological phenomenon, and it is a real game changer. Why does this matter to us? Well, it means that while you might think you're freely blazing a totally unique trail, transfinite macroscopic systems are simultaneously drawing the map around you. They are rigorously forcing the inclusion of all those finite nodes into a predetermined region. The boundary condition dictates the ultimate outcome, just swallowing our hero's localized path entirely.
When we compare the micro versus the macro, the true tension of our hero's existence is brilliantly mapped out. On the micro level, we have Arrow's dictator making freely non-commuting choices, experiencing what really feels like subjective, dynamic development. But on the macro level, the stone check compactification and the macroscopic measure have already acted as a transfinite filter, fixing the limit points in place. The macro geometry has mathematically predetermined the boundaries of the exact space you're trying to explore.
Section 6. Reversing the infinite, the unavoidable conclusion of the universe. Which brings us to the ultimate, staggering conclusion of our explainer. When you combine the free Grothendieck theorem and this invisible constitution, what are we actually left with? We are left with a mathematically profound, almost theological truth. Because the invisible constitution mathematically guarantees all limit points and intersections in the transfinite remainder, the subjective feeling of endless development is, structurally speaking, an illusion. The filter of the universe shapes reality with absolute finality. Yes, your free variable makes real injective choices, but the path is entirely bounded by an infinite constitutional structure.
And so the whole shebang reconciles back to just one. We live in a singular, bijective universe where every single free choice perfectly maps back onto itself, safely contained inside an inescapable boundary. The math is absolutely unassailable. But it leaves us with one massive question. As we walk our unique, freely non-commuting paths, are we truly authoring the cosmos? Or are we merely fulfilling the absolute invisible equation of a universe that already knows how it ends? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating math with me today. Keep asking the big questions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.